Pablo Picasso was a Spanish painter, sculptor, printmaker, ceramicist, and stage designer who is widely considered one of the most important artists of the 20th century. He was born on October 25, 1881, in Malaga, Spain, and showed an early talent for art. His father, José Ruiz Blasco, was an artist and art professor, and he encouraged his son's creative interests. Picasso's family moved to Barcelona when he was 14, and he quickly enrolled in the city's prestigious School of Fine Arts. He completed his formal art education in 1900, and shortly thereafter moved to Paris, where he would spend most of his life. It was in Paris that Picasso began to develop his unique artistic style, which would change the course of art history. In his early years in Paris, Picasso struggled to make a name for himself in the competitive art world. He produced a large number of works in a variety of styles, but it wasn't until he began experimenting with the revolutionary art movements of the time, including post-impressionism and fauvism, that he began to gain recognition. Picasso's first major breakthrough came in 1907 with the painting Les Demoiselles d'Avignon. The painting was a radical departure from the traditional art of the time, featuring distorted and abstracted forms that were inspired by African masks and other primitive art. The painting was a shock to many viewers, but it was also hailed as a masterpiece by the avant-garde art community. Over the next few years, Picasso continued to push the boundaries of traditional art, creating a series of groundbreaking works that would come to define his style. In 1912, he introduced a new artistic concept called analytic cubism, which involved breaking down objects into geometric shapes and reassembling them in a fragmented way. This approach was followed by synthetic cubism, which introduced collage elements into his paintings. In addition to his paintings, Picasso also became known for his sculptures, ceramics, and other forms of art. He worked in a wide range of media, including bronze, stone, and clay, and created some of the most iconic sculptures of the 20th century. Throughout his long and prolific career, Picasso produced tens of thousands of works of art, many of which are now considered masterpieces. He also had a profound influence on the art world, inspiring countless other artists to experiment with new techniques and approaches. Despite his success as an artist, Picasso's personal life was often tumultuous. He had multiple marriages and relationships, many of which were characterized by intense passion and occasional violence. He also had a complicated relationship with his children, some of whom went on to become artists themselves. Picasso continued to work until his death in 1973 at the age of 91. His legacy as one of the most important artists of the 20th century remains secure, and his influence on the art world continues to be felt to this day. After his breakthrough with Les Demoiselles d'Avignon in 1907, Picasso became a leading figure in the avant-garde art world of Paris. He was part of a vibrant community of artists and intellectuals, including writers such as Gertrude Stein and Ernest Hemingway, and other painters such as Georges Braque and Henri Matisse. During the 1920s and 1930s, Picasso continued to experiment with new styles and techniques. He created a series of works that were heavily influenced by surrealism, a movement that emphasized the power of the unconscious mind and the irrational. Picasso's surrealist paintings often featured dreamlike imagery, strange juxtapositions of objects, and distorted figures. In addition to his work as a painter and sculptor, Picasso also collaborated on a number of theater productions. He created sets and costumes for the Ballets Russes, a renowned dance company that was instrumental in the development of modern ballet. Picasso also designed sets and costumes for several plays, including Jean Cocteau's The Four-Legged Table and Igor Stravinsky's Pulcinella. During World War II, Picasso remained in Paris, despite the Nazi occupation. He continued to work on his art, although he was forced to keep a low profile due to the political situation. In 1944, Picasso joined the French Communist Party and remained a member for the rest of his life. In the years following the war, Picasso's art underwent another major transformation. He began to create works that were more representational and less abstract, and he developed a new style that became known as Neo-Expressionism. This style was characterized by bold colors, thick brushstrokes, and an emotional intensity that was reminiscent of his earlier work. Picasso remained active as an artist into his 80s, continuing to create new works and experiment with new techniques. He also became increasingly involved in political causes, speaking out against the Vietnam War and supporting various left-wing movements. Picasso died on April 8, 1973, at the age of 91. He left behind a vast body of work that encompassed a wide range of styles and media, and he remains one of the most influential artists of the 20th century. His paintings, sculptures, and other works of art continue to be admired and studied by artists and art lovers around the world.